Hello everyone, welcome back to the physics class of 8th standard. See, in the first section, we have started the second topic of 8th standard, that is friction, right? So, in this section, we will discuss the next bit of the topic friction, that is friction a necessary evil. So, now we will discuss some examples to better understand about friction a necessary evil. So let us discuss some examples one by one. Recall some of your experiences. Is it easier to hold a glass tumbler? Suppose the outer surface of the tumbler is greasy or has a thin layer of cooking oil on it. Could it be easier or more difficult to hold it? Just think, could it be possible to hold the glass at all if there is no friction? Like that only, recall also how difficult it is to move on a wet muddy track or wet marble floor. Can you imagine being able to walk at all if there were no friction? See, by taking these examples and asking the questions, I just wanted to clear out the thing that without the friction we can't walk, or without the friction we can't hold any object. There will be friction, then only it is possible to walk on the floor or to hold any object. We need what? Friction. So, like this only, let us take one more example. See, you could not write with pen or pencil if there were no friction. Just imagine when your teacher is writing with chalk on the blackboard. Its rough surface rubs off some chalk particles which sticks to the blackboard. Could it happen if there were no friction between the chalk and the board? See, is it possible with the teacher to write on the blackboard if there were no friction? Is it possible with the teacher? No, it is not possible, right? The board is having some rough surface. So, because of that rough surface only, the teacher is able to write with the use of chalk. So, like this only. Now, let us take some more examples about friction. See, if an object started moving, it could never stop if there were no friction. Had there been no friction between the tires of the automobiles and the road, they could not be started or stopped or turned to change the direction of motion. You could not fix a nail on the wall or tie a knot. Without friction, no building could be constructed. So, by taking all these examples, I just wanted to clear out that without the friction, some of the works or some of the applications could not be possible. So, to make it possible, there should be the action of friction. Then only all the applications, all the works can be taken out, can be worked out, right? On the other hand, friction is an evil too. It wears out the materials, whether they are screws, ball bearings or soles of the shoes. You must have seen worn out steps of foot over bridges at railway stations. So, all things will happen because of the heat, right? So, it means what? Friction can also produce heat. So, for this, we will take one more example. This is what the common example we used to take for the friction, right? So what is that example? See, vigorously rub your palms together for a few minutes. What will happen? We will feel somewhat heat, right? So, when you strike a matchstick against the rough surface, okay, so this is the one more example I am taking. So when you strike a matchstick against the rough surface, it catches fire, right? Why it will catches the fire? Because the matchstick we are striking to the rough surface of the matchbox. right? So because of that rough surface and the matchstick, what will happen? It will catches the fire. Let me take one more example. You might have observed that the jar of a mixer becomes hot when it is run for a few minutes, right? Why it is so? It is because of the friction only, okay? You can cite various other examples in which friction produces heat. In fact, when a machine is operated, heat generated causes much wastage of energy. We shall discuss the ways of minimizing friction in the following section. Increasing and reducing friction. As we have discussed many examples, and there we got an idea that friction is desirable in some situations, right? By taking that all the examples, we got the idea that without the friction, we can't do any work, right? So, have you ever thought why the sole of your shoe is grooved? It is done to provide the shoes better grip on the floor so that you can move safely. Similarly, the treaded tires of cars, trucks and bulldozers provide better grip with the ground. We increase friction by using brake pads in the brake system of bicycle and automobiles. When you are riding a bicycle, the brake pads do not touch the wheel, right? But when you press the brake lever, these pads arrest the motion of the rim due to friction. The wheel stops moving. So like that only, you might have seen that kabaddi players rub their hands with soil for a better grip of their opponents. Like this only, we can take one more example. Gymnasts apply some coarse substance on their hands to increase friction for better grip. If you observe here, in all these examples, we are increasing friction. But in some situations, friction is undesirable. Means what? We don't want the friction here. And we want to minimize the friction. For this, we can take the example of carom board. See, while playing the carom board, we used to apply fine powder, right? We used to sprinkle the fine powder on the carom board. So, by the use of the fine powder on the carom board, we are reducing the friction, right? And like that only, you might have noticed that when a few drops of oil are poured on the hinge of a door, what will happen? The door moves smoothly, right? And like that only, a bicycle and a motor machine uses grease between the moving parts of these machines, right? In all these above cases, we want to reduce friction in order to increase efficiency, right? When oil, grease or graphite is applied between the moving parts of a machine, a thin layer is formed there and moving surface do not directly rub against each other, right? By using, what will happen here? By using the oil, grease or graphite, what will happen? The machine parts will not rub each other directly, right? They are rubbing between the oil, grease or graphite. So what will happen? By the use of oil, grease or graphite here, the interlocking of irregularities is avoided to great extent, right? So movement becomes smooth. The substance which reduces friction are called lubricants, okay? So here, whatever the substances we are using to reduce the friction, that substances are called as lubricants. So, how we can define the lubricants? We can define it as the substances which reduces friction are called lubricants, okay? So, the substances which reduces friction are called lubricants. So, the examples for this, we can take oil, grease or graphite. Okay, so with the use of these lubricants, we can reduce the friction. And in in some machines, it may not be advisable to use oil as a lubricant. An air cushion between the moving parts is used to reduce friction. Let us move towards the next bit, that is wheels reduces friction. In this bit, actually we are going to see the action of lubricant. How actually the lubricants will act. For this we can take the example of a person moving loaded trolley. Okay, so this type of loaded trolley can be pulled by a small child also, right? So why it is easier for the child to pull the trolley? Because rolling reduces friction. Let us move towards the last part of the topic, that is fluid friction. The common name of gases and liquids is known as fluids. The frictional force which is acting on the object depends on the speed of the object and the shape of the object. And it is obvious that when objects move through any fluids, they have to overcome friction which is acting on them, right? So in this process, what will happen? They will lose their energy. So because of that, their bodies must have evolved a particular shape. It means what? The bodies of the object have given a particular shape so that they could lose less energy in overcoming friction. So for this, we will consider the example of an aeroplane with that of a bird. Do you find any similarities in its shape? Yes, the shape of an aeroplane is just similar with the shape of a bird, right? In fact, all vehicles are designed to have shapes which reduce fluid friction. So here we have finished the second topic of 8th standard, that is friction. Hope you have understood. Thank you everyone.